Okay, well, we can continue letting people in as we get started, but I will kick everyone off. My name is Meghna Ravishankar. I am the Director of Planning at the World Food Price Foundation, and I'm jumping in today to help get this great session started. As you all know, I hope you're in the right place. This is a breakout session titled Feeding Older Iowans Amid COVID-19 and Beyond. And we have two great speakers today. I'll introduce them briefly and hand it over to them. First, Alexandra Bauman, who's the Nutrition, Health, and Wellness Director at the Iowa Department on Aging, and Linda Gorko, the Executive Director of the Iowa Food Bank Association. So Linda and Alex, I'm going to hand it over to you to kick us off.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having us. As Meghna said, yes, please ask questions at any time. Make sure here we go. So I'm the Nutrition, Health, and Wellness Director at the Iowa Department on Aging. I'm also a registered dietitian. So, okay. The Iowa Department on Aging administers the Older Americans Act. So our purpose is to assist the 6 Iowa area agencies on aging to deliver services and help keep older Iowans independent and in their homes if this is where they want to be, which we know the majority of older adults do want to be in their homes. So this is the map of our 6 area agencies on aging, also called our AAAs. You can see where you live in your county, or if you have family members, which area agency on aging would cover your area. So 1 in the red is Elderbridge, 2 in the yellow is Northeast Iowa Area Agency on Aging. Number 3 is Aging Resources of Central Iowa. Number 4 is Heritage. Number 5 is Milestones, and number 6 in the blue is Connections. So you can also find this on our website, iowaaging.gov. So the Older Americans Act, which was passed in the 1960s, charges us with 3 categories of service. We have information and assistance, which includes our ADRC, our Aging and Disability Resource Center, options counseling, case management, and legal assistance. Nutrition and health promotion, which is my realm. It includes congregate meals, home delivered meals, evidence-based programs like Take G for arthritis, Matter of Balance, falls prevention. We have a new program we're working on starting up called Capable, which combines a occupational therapist, a nurse, and a handyman to prevent falls in the home. We also provide nutrition education monthly and dietitian counseling. And then the third category is services to promote independence. So this has a wide variety of services, including adult daycare, chores, personal care, caregiver support, respite, transportation, and material aid to help make home modifications. So that number there, Lifelong Links, that's our ADRC, our Aging and Disability Resource Center. So that is geo-mapped. So if you call in whatever your area code is, you'll be transferred to that local area agency on aging to help you with these services. Or if for some reason there's been a move or that's not the right area agency, they're able to transfer you. We also partner with the Department of Agriculture to administer the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program vouchers during the summer months. So that's something the area agencies on aging help as well. So our meals are on a voluntary contribution basis. So congregate meal sites are available for those age 60 or older and their spouses, regardless of age. And there also may be some eligibility for those with disabilities and volunteers. So basically what that means is that your meal is available on a contribution basis. So congregate meal sites are typically in senior centers, churches, or community buildings. However, we are expanding into some different locations like libraries and parks departments. We're working on some local restaurant partnerships in some areas. We have over 200 meal sites in the state of Iowa, and other than being over the age of 60, we don't do any kind of means testing. Anyone is eligible with those age requirements. And then we also provide home delivered meals. So you might know this as Meals on Wheels. So either your local area agency on aging, or they partner with a local provider, like here in Polk County. Wesley Life is the Meals on Wheels provider in Polk County. And that's available for those age 60 or older and homebound, and possibly the participant spouse and individuals with disabilities younger than age 60. So our meals are also very nutritious. They must meet certain nutrition guidelines to make sure we're meeting the needs of older Iowans. This past year, fiscal year, we served a little over 31,000 older Iowans meals. The average nutrition participant lives alone. We have about 70% of them are female. Average age is 79. We have a lot of widowed participants that come to our meal sites or receive home delivered meals as well. So in particular, home delivered meals are associated with a large decrease in healthcare costs. You can actually serve an older adult home delivered meals for an entire year for the same cost as just 1 day in the hospital or 10 days in the nursing home. So when we were comparing all of the support services needed to keep someone in the home, including meals, maybe some personal assistance, it cost about $1,400 on the Medicaid elderly waiver. In the nursing home, the average cost in Iowa for a month is about $5,500. So it is a really large cost savings. And I want to note that we use the term more than just a meal a lot, because it isn't just a frozen meal or being delivered to the doorstep, although now in COVID times, we have been utilizing frozen meals, but usually it's a real person bringing a hot prepared meal into their home daily. So a lot of times it's the only time a person has to see another adult or person. We have a lot of socially isolated people, and it's also a safety check. So that's why we call it more than just a meal. I'll pass it over to you.
Hi, great. Thanks, Alex. I'm Linda with the Iowa Food Bank Association. If you don't know a little bit about the Iowa Food Bank Association, I can share a little bit about who we are and what we do. The mission of the Iowa Food Bank Association is to support the Feeding America food banks across the state of Iowa and their affiliates. The major work that we do is the advocacy, disaster, food and fundraising, food assistance outreach, and the operations to elevate our ability to disperse food efficiently and in a safe way across the state in an equitable way. The collaborative efforts allow food banks and the more than 1,200 partners across the state help make them more efficient and effective in serving our hungry Iowans. So that's really what we are here to do, is to support the work being done across the state with the Pantry Network, all of them being nonprofits. I can tell you, we do have a map here of the Feeding America food banks serving Iowa, and you can see which area the food bank that does serve. I think the only one, we were always saying that I think it's the Hawkeye in that area, the Haycap and the, is it called the Hawkeye, Alex? The Heritage Agency. Yeah. They're the ones, they are the only, I think, that line up exactly with all the same counties. So that's always interesting. Right. So we have maybe a food bank that works with a couple or a food bank that works with a couple different AAAs, or a AAA that works with a couple different food banks. There's, like I said, only 6. You may want to take a look at who your food bank representative is. They all are Feeding America food banks. We work together across the state so that we become more efficient. The Iowa Food Bank Association has been in existence for more than 10 years. So we've been building us working together and partnering together to serve the 99 counties across Iowa on a consistent basis. So the more that we are able to collaborate and work together, the more that we're able to support our partners and find new ways of serving. And that's exactly what we're talking about today, a little bit of partnerships and collaboration. One of the things that the Iowa Food Bank Association does do is provide a hotline. It's a food assistance hotline. We work with the Department of Human Services, and that was started in 2015. And the food assistance, it's also known as SNAP. We provide that call center, and we do serve many seniors who may hear about it from someone or somewhere, or they can call the Lifelong Link. So they have two options, but we help people apply for the for food assistance. The average, just to give you an idea of the average calls that we've had recently with the pandemic, we've averaged number of calls in the hotline from 600 to 700 calls. The high amounts this began in March with 800 to 900 calls a month. And this past 3 months, we've received over 1,000 calls a month. So we've almost doubled the number of calls that we're receiving because of the great and expanded need. The one thing that we also have done with the hotline, and if you work with anyone or an organization would like more information, we definitely would like to get this information out to those that are your clients, to really call the hotline for assistance if they're interested. We have worked with, received a grant and with Feeding America, and we are doing a campaign to encourage seniors to sign up for food assistance, because one of the things that we have found out is that a larger number of seniors who may qualify don't receive the great benefits of the food assistance program. So we're there just basically to offer help no matter what county you are in. So that gives you an idea about the food assistance hotline. We are open Monday through Friday. So that gives a little bit of information. Some of the information, an overview of information about the food banks. If you're not familiar with us, we are, each of the member food banks are private nonprofits, rely on donors. The key thing is with the work that we do is food safety is number one. Those that we serve, seniors, families, children's, are vulnerable populations, and food safety is primary and of key importance. So we want to make sure that that is done safely. We partner with the 1,200 agencies, and 90% of all the donations that we receive go in services. So very efficient in the way that we do. And on average right now, it looks like our average meal is $1 for 5.5 meals in distribution because of donations or food recovered, the product that we receive, that type of thing. So just to note in regards to food recovery, it's such an important part of the work that we do. In 2019, all 6 food banks combined diverted 14 million pounds of food from the landfills and provided it for people to eat. It wasn't bad. It just needed an opportunity to get distributed out. So that's a lot of meals. So it's a key area of work that we do. programs that we do provide, the food banks do provide across the state, and each one is different. So your food bank may have similar programs and call it different names, but it's basically, key thing is agency support. Working with our pantries, shelters, soup kitchens, all those great partners we have across the state, those 1,200 people that make it all happen. In fact, the AAAs are part of our partners also. We have mobile food pantries that you've probably heard more about during this pandemic, that we are able to drive up and drop off food, place it in people's food boxes into people's back of their car. We do also do the Operation Backpack program across the state for school-age children. There's school pantries, we've college pantries, kids cafe, where we one food bank does provide kids summer meals. And our key work is to addressing food deserts and providing food to people who are in need. Senior programs like senior totes, similar, we always say or senior totes, we liken that to the Operation Backpack. We try to keep it as light as possible with food that's appropriate for the seniors. So we take a lot of consult from the AAAs and dietitians in the type of food that we put in those types of totes. The community gardens, we do have food banks that do have work with that, and then a variety of programs, additional programs that are more localized. But like I said, the most probably a strong one is that food rescue that I just talked about a little bit before, but that gives you an idea of the scope of work that the food banks do, and we are all linked to Feeding America. So that gives you an idea of our connections. So.
Perfect. So I just want to start with a little bit of background too on what we're seeing in the population. So nationwide and in Iowa, we're seeing a significant increase of our older adult population. You can see here in the yellow counties, this is the 20% or less of the population is over age 65, and in the blue counties, 20% are age 65 and older. So we're really starting to see this shift in population growth between 2010 to 2040, and it's happening now. 10,000 people in the US turn 65 each day, and there will be over twice the number of people age 65 in 2040 versus 2000. And by 2035, there will be more older adults over age 60 than children under age 20. So some people have coined it as the age wave. We're really entering into this time of aging. And it really puts a strain on our healthcare system too, and the caretakers and the housing plays a role as well, if appropriate housing for those who are aging. So it really touches all aspects of life, and we are seeing food insecurity in the older adult population as well. So what we're really seeing is a change in demographics. Those in blue are called the baby boomer population. Right now, they're age 55 to 75. And those in blue, because our programs are for those age 60 plus, I put the age 60 to 74, and we have about almost 500,000 people age 60 to 74 in Iowa. And the red, which is sometimes called the silent generation, those age 75 plus, is about 250,000 people. So really double the amount of baby boomers versus the silent generation. And this new generation of older adults are much different. And when in regards to services that help serve the older adult population, this really changes how we see and provide our services. They're working much longer. We don't have that normal retirement age anymore. And we're also living much longer. Back when Social Security was created, the average life expectancy was 69, I believe. And now in Iowa, it's over age 79. So we just have a much longer life expectancy. We also are seeing greater diversity, and they're more food insecure. So we know the highest rates of food insecurity are in that age 55 to 74 age range for older adults. And so we know they also want different things in regards to services. Right now, in providing our congregate and home delivered meals, we're seeing it shift in the types of meals they like. We call them the liver and onion or meat and potatoes seniors versus our Panera or soup and salad seniors, because we're just seeing that shift in the foods that they're wanting and offering, they're wanting to be offered. So this was a project we partnered with IDPH a few years ago to identify some reasons for food insecurity in Iowa. This was SNAP-Ed funded, and it was through the Iowa Senior Hunger Partnership, made up a group of stakeholders in Iowa to address senior hunger. So these were case studies of real older Iowans. We sat down and asked them questions, and we really found a lot of issues around pride and shame and transportation issues, medical bills, and living on a fixed income. So I'll just read a couple here because they're really quite astounding. So one says, I only get $708 a month to live on. Okay, I pay rent, I pay utilities, I buy medicine, and what is left after that to buy groceries? So we see sometimes there's that trade-off. Do I buy my diabetes medicine for this month, or do I buy food? And some of them are foregoing the diabetes medicine to afford their food. We also see the last quote there. It says, I know there's food available. I know where I can get it for free, but I can't always get there. So what's kind of unique about the older population too is transportation is a much larger issue.
And I agree exactly. We're finding the same thing. Feeding America, and some of the things that we've been finding is 50 to 74% higher rates of food insecurity if a person is more than 75 years of age. Their chance of being food insecure is higher. And also, when you look at the seniors, are more likely to experience food insecurity if you're ethnic or racial minority, a divorced, separated or never married, disabled, female, unemployed, living with grandchildren. I was sort of surprised with living with grandchildren one, but you hear all the reality of a grandmother would rather give their food to their grandchild than not eat themselves. That's we've had that happen where we've come across those scenarios. And like Alex is talking about, the trade-offs of so many of the things. I was at a mobile pantry and distribution where we were providing a variety of different foods in all of the mobiles. This was in a rural area, and you don't think that rural or that senior hunger is a reality in our state. But there was a woman that went down. She fell. She was in line to receive the food. She went down. I went to call emergency. However, they just kept on saying, no, 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 we know what's going on. So I didn't. In retrospect, I learned I should have called the emergency. But she had a diabetic reaction. She had not eaten for about 24 hours. She was coming to get her food, and she had not taken her insulin because she was skipping in order to draw it out. So she has two things going against her, and we put her into her car. I got food for her, but it's the truth, and this is the reality of the life that so many of our seniors are living. So that's a story that is embedded in my mind, and it could have been anyone's grandmother that woman. I'll never forget her. So, you know, the work of the Senior Hunger is a major work in the Feeding America food banks, and we're have always worked to serve that population and work with the partnerships, such as the Iowa Department of Aging. That's a key area for us to work in to make sure that these people are, seniors are properly fed, and how we can help in this whole food insecurity challenge. And then I have just a slide on a little bit more about that food insecurity that, you know, the existing research shows that many seniors struggle with food insecurity, plain and simple, and they may be particularly vulnerable due to negative health and nutrition implications of food insecurity. So it's a complex challenge. The relationship between food insecurity, older age, and other related factors is a big or a few items that we are always looking at, and how can we partner with experts in a variety of organizations, not only to feed the hungry, but help them. How can we do a better job so they don't find themselves in these situations? They work so hard or had a long life of doing the right thing, and they end up as seniors in need of additional food. And that's something that we are very interested in working with and helping nourish our seniors. So each year, Feeding America releases a state of senior hunger data. So and it's with it's with the current population study. So if you go to the Feeding America site, or if someone wants to contact me, I can always provide you and direct you, or your local food bank can direct you to that study. So a little bit of information for you. And then, you know, I did want to talk a little bit about the challenges that we came across with with COVID, but Alex, I'll have you go first.
Yeah. So back in March, when the major disaster was declared, we really had to pivot our focus towards emergency processes. So all of our congregate meal sites closed. We switched to a hybrid of providing home delivered meals and drive-through or pickup meals. We did bulk frozen and shelf stable deliveries and grocery bags. All homebound participants were called weekly for a safety check, as often that daily home delivered meal contact. We were worried about those in isolation and those socially isolated. Some AAAs partnered with local restaurants and grocery stores that were struggling, and that has been a great partnership too, in giving business to the local restaurants and getting a high quality meal out to an older adult. And another thing we found during the pandemic was that we needed to switch gears from our in-person falls prevention and programs and nutrition education to more virtual routes. It was something we had in our back of our minds and wanted to do for a while, especially to reach homebound older adults, but the pandemic really pushed it to happen now. So we had to learn quickly, and our AAAs and community partners to adjust to testing out virtual and telephone conference-based programming. So it's a work in progress, as we know, especially a lot of rural, older Iowans don't have access to internet. So that can be an issue in reaching out to them and checking up on them and making sure they have access to the services they need. So as you can see here, these are our number of clients and meals that were served in 2019 through June of 2020. So we saw a large spike in our clients and home delivered meals. Our AAA saw about a 250% increase during this time. So we saw a large increase in calls and also a large increase in meals. So many were previous congregate consumers, but we also saw about an additional 7,000 brand new consumers that came because of COVID. And the calls we were getting in were also about double to triple our normal amount. We also know, and this is separate of our Department of Aging Services, but received data from food assistance and the Department of Human Services, and we saw about a 10% increase between January and July of this year for adults age 60 plus on SNAP. So we usually don't see a lot of large changes in older adults on food assistance. So this was definitely another indication that a greater number of older adults were finding themselves food insecure during the pandemic.
The onset of the pandemic, some of the food banks, we started noticing, well, we were alerted to a lot of changes, but with the increase in unemployment, more Iowans in need of food, we rather than concentrating only the low income, we were starting to have a middle income people need additional food to eat. So an expanded number of people, the increased social distancing made it very challenging to distribute food the way that we normally do, because we prefer the choice pantries and those types of things. So we really switched over to more of the boxed food because of the safety issue. We also saw a significant and almost immediate reduce in our food rescue. And I know there was a couple weeks that we actually had no food rescue because all the food was being purchased, which is a good thing that's being purchased. We don't want it to go bad, but it's something that we saw a significant change. We also saw a large change in the way that the food was being accessed. So we were seeing a lot of supply issues, uncertain food supply issues. And the key thing also is that senior congregate and meal changes needs, and also the number of phone calls that we were receiving from seniors. So those are the key things that we were seeing immediately. And in regards to COVID response for seniors, we immediately identified that seniors were a key area that we wanted to and needed to address because of the great work that's usually being done and the high number of people that are going to the congregate meals and receive that service, knowing that the AAAs were inundated with the number of calls. So we were connected with the Department on Aging and with the governor's office and started making plans of, okay, how can we help? And at that time, it just was, I think, Alex, you and I just sort of talked and said, this has to happen. And so the food bank switched to providing boxes of food to the AAAs as soon as possible. They were in contact with those people. We covered the food. We didn't know where we were going to get it, but we had faith that we could come up with it. But we needed to get boxes and food to the AAAs because they were receiving an increase in calls. And if they were at least doing a distribution of a hot meal, they could possibly give additional food for the rest of the week. So we really connected immediately. But the key thing is, especially with the seniors, is that contactless food distribution is key, and also increase the amount of food per person. We're very aware of a bag with a senior tote, trying to keep the make it equitable so a senior could pick it up and carry it themselves. But at this point, we were just wanting to make sure that they received some good food.
Right. So like Linda said, we were really blessed too back in March that our Lieutenant Governor felt a call to action for those who are food insecure in our state. So he put together the Feeding Iowans Task Force that had a representative from each department that has a focus or programs on feeding Iowans, as well as the Food Bank Association and other nonprofits that work with food in Iowans. So these partnerships have really proved to be valuable throughout the pandemic, and it allowed us the opportunity to increase our visibility for food insecurity and connect with other partners to identify unmet needs. There was a more in-depth presentation, I believe yesterday morning, Tuesday morning, about the Feeding Iowans Task Force. So if you do want to know more, that goes a little bit more in depth. But the Department on Aging was awarded CARES Act funding to help with the increased need of services. So we realized there was a really great need for food insecurity. So we contracted a portion of our funds with the Iowa Food Bank Association to supply food bank items for older adults. And we did this because we knew there was an unmet need, and it was really the right thing to do. So the Feeding Task Force made this really easy to quickly connect, have a phone call, and move forward. It was quickly evolving situation. So, and it really makes sense, because if we are already in contact with an older adult who is food insecure, and we're delivering a meal and they can't go out to a food bank, then it makes sense to connect with the food bank or food pantry and give them both in the same delivery. So through this small, really pilot partnership with the CARES Act funding between the Food Bank Association and the Department on Aging, and this is just June through August 2020 data, we were able to serve 121,000 people age 60 plus, about 1.1 million pounds of food, which is the equivalent to about 924,000 meals. So that's a huge amount of food that they're getting through this partnership. And this is not including the additional home delivered meals and congregate meals. This is just through that pilot partnership with the Food Bank Association. So we have maybe about another month or 2 or 3 until funding runs out on this project. So we've really found it to be hugely beneficial, and we're happy how it's turned out so far.
Like Alex had shared, the COVID changes and that are happening, but the things that we've been working with the Iowa Department on Aging, I think in the past we had created a variety of different programs, or at least communications, but our goal is to accentuate our work together and be able to ensure that we do serve those clients that are so important to us. We're working together with the Iowa Department of Public Health and Department on Aging and the food banks across Iowa, and plus other community partners to help feed the seniors in a variety of many ways. Great organizations doing wonderful things. It does take more than just one program, but some of the things that we have done over time is the food banks in the Iowa Department of Public Health had created the produce boxes several years ago, fresh conversation locations and at senior sites, providing seniors produce boxes of food, of vegetables, fruits and vegetables. That was successful. When you're looking at the importance of fresh food, that's been key, and something that actually we've been many food banks are working on to expand. Every food bank, when you think about a food bank, in the past it used to be a can of beans that always sat on the shelf, or something that's shelf stable forever. Well, that has all changed dynamically as we see the impacts of hunger over the years, and then especially with our seniors, their need for fresh fruits and vegetables, protein. So a well-balanced meal is key and important for their body and for all of us, really. So the food banks have over the years converted over to a lot of fresh produce and those types of healthy products as much as possible. Right now, the Iowa Department of Public Health is working to do a research project with the Iowa University of Iowa Research on how we can better serve our older adults, and finding one thing that we did in our conversation. One of the key things is something that happened and moved faster than we anticipated with Duratio. Is our key thing is to work with the Department on Aging is very important because that's in sync with the work that they do and need to support in any ways that we can find opportunities for wraparound services. Of course, mobile pantries and partnerships and the food assistance line. So interesting thing is with the derecho, with this, our relationship that had been encouraged and created, that when the derecho hit in eastern Iowa, it works seamlessly that here in eastern Iowa, the AAA and the food bank work seamlessly together. We're able to ensure that senior meals were stored at the food bank for the AAA, coordination and partnership so that we can get that food out to them. But it was a hard hit. It was everyone was overwhelmed, but it just showed that creating that partnership in advance was made it very easy to implement some of the things that needed to happen. So,
Right.
Alex?
I think you have one more slide, but just to kind of piggyback on that too, with the derecho, our area agency on aging, Heritage in that area, they had lost a lot of their meals. Their providers had lost a lot of their meals from refrigeration, thousands of meals. And we were able to obtain 30,000 shelf-stable emergency meals with the Department of Homeland Security. And so they partnered with the food bank there because they have no storage and the food bank does. So it just really did work together seamlessly. And those 30,000 meals were out within a day or two. So that's how many, just for older Iowans. So 30,000 meals in 1 or 2 days in the derecho area.
I think with this slide, I think the biggest thing is that the pandemic, we've seen on the food bank side is we've seen a 40% increase in distribution statewide, and that the food banks consistently for the last 5 months have an increase of a million meals for each month compared to last year. So that consistent high need is reflective across the board.
So another partnership example, in March of 2020 was a busy time in quickly adjusting service delivery from congregate to home delivered. So volunteers for home delivered meals are typically older adults as well. We find that with a lot of feeding activities, volunteers tend to be older themselves. So many older adults chose to not volunteer for health reasons. And in Ottumwa, Iowa found themselves kind of in a pickle with a lack of volunteers, and they had 62 people on a wait list for home delivered meals, but we could get the food, but we just couldn't get it to them because of the home delivered meal drivers. So the Food Bank of Iowa was also trying to start a senior food box program for 215 older adults during that same time. And we reached out to Senator Miller Meeks and Representative Mary Gaskell for help, the representatives in those areas. So they advertised the need for volunteers on their social media, and we're able to immediately fill those volunteer positions. And the Food Bank of Iowa and Milestones Area Agency on Aging worked together to make sure all home delivered meal participants were offered a food box in addition to their meals, and volunteers were able to deliver both. So we really saw that as a great partnership that came together in about 24 hours.
I did want to touch on, when you think about what's next, one of the things that we are excited about, and I know all of this will be very helpful for everyone, but and I mentioned the research with the Iowa Department of Public Health, the research they came up with, they've been doing interviews, and it's not complete, but I did ask them to share at least a quote, if I could share a quote or two. What's the reality? What are our seniors seeing and feeling? And this is in regards to the collaborations happening across the state was, and I'll read it, is once a week, they give you fresh produce like potatoes, celery, onions, green peppers. It's real nice selection. I like that because I can cut some of that stuff up and I can freeze it, like green peppers, whatever, and then you can use it when you need it. So that's been good. I like that. So that, again, that fresh produce, but it just showing that this is a senior who receives it with their grandchild's school meals. It was coordinated in their community to receive the food boxes at the same location. But it's crucial to continue and connect on a state and local level. Our communities need to come together to help with the senior hunger, and really no organization can do it alone. We need to work together, and as Alex and I were talking and converting about it, is the big thing is our ability to make those connections on the local level with our food banks and then their respective department, AAA in their area. Those connections are key. And when you least expect it, you can make that call and say, we got to get something done, because everybody that's working in this area, they're people of action. They're people of let's get it done. And I think the biggest thing that we can do is that partnership. So that's the most important thing, is integral support services and wraparound services for seniors and feeding them across the state.
Right. I mean, I know we were talking, so usually a homebound older adult might receive 5 meals a week. And if you go to the food bank, you might receive 1 or 2 boxes of food. Is that right, Linda? A month?
Depends on, yeah.
Depends on the food bank.
Yep.
So not one service can really provide 100% of the daily needs. It's all of, and SNAP, Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program, home delivered meals, the food bank. Not one service can really do it all.